Hey, it's Jag. Today we're soldering.
Yeah.
I'll be getting to the soldering shortly. The first thing I'm going to do is deal with this power switch, how close it comes to the actual word power. I've got about just a little more than a 32nd of an inch. I can shave off the top of this switch. I don't think I'll bother doing it on the bottom. I'll just do it on the top. For the little bit of that hole that shows on either side of the switch, I was thinking that I could make a little rubber surround. So I've got some of my larger heat shrink tubing, and I cut it very straight in half, opened it up, and I've taped it down to this piece of wood. I marked an X so I know where the center is. I'm going to actually cut a hole in this. The switch can go through that. It will just go just barely around the outside of the flange of the switch, and at least kind of hide that those marks. So that's going to be my solution for that. So the first thing I'm going to do is make that hole in this this heat shrink here, and make sure it fits on the switch, and that it's going to do what I think it will. Well, I think that's worked out pretty well. If I hadn't mentioned anything or told anybody, they probably wouldn't even know that was a repair. The flange is leaving some room between the lettering and the flange itself, and that little piece of heat shrink fits perfectly, covers those two little edges of the hole, and it absolutely looks like it belongs there. The only thing now to do is elongate the hole for the bass pot, bring that down just a little bit. The treble pot fits a little tight too, so I'm going to do a little bit of grinding out that hole a bit too, just make it just a hair larger. I'm going to take the 3/8 inch bit and just try and hone that out a little bit. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. If I put a ruler across the top, it touches the top of each of the knobs, so they are lined up perfectly now. The power switch looks good, so I'm really happy with that. Well, with everything completed with the faceplate, the first thing I need to do down here in the electronics shop is get the components on. I'm going to start by putting a ground bus across the back of the pots, and then over to this spot here that I've cleared with the Dremel, and put some solder on. So all of the grounds for the front part of the preamp will go to that bus. There are two grounds at the back here on the output, which will ground over where the output grounds when I get to that part. The ground for the input jack, these three grounds here, and the grounds for the pots and cases will all go onto this bus bar, which I made. I usually use some solid core copper wire for that, but I don't have any. I must have thrown a bunch out or lost it or something when I had the flood down here a couple years ago. So I made a bus bar by just taking some regular smaller gauge bus wire, bending it in half so I had two lengths, and then I put it in my drill and twisted it up, and that gives you a really solid wire. So that should work out pretty well. I'm going to just size this to go across the back of these pots and solder it on, and we can get to putting the board in. I had originally taken some 20 gauge wire, doubled it over and wound it up, and I just felt that wasn't solid enough, so I took a longer piece, doubled it over, and doubled it again, so 4 strands, and then twisted it again in my drill. That was a lot more solid. Also, I normally don't put a bus bar right across the back of the pots, and that is because the pots themselves, the case is ground to the chassis, and then you put that across the back, and you can end up with some ground loop issues. But this chassis is powder coated, and the pots are not grounding through the chassis, so I was okay putting that bus bar across the back of the pots, and then the ground running to this main ground point here. So these are all going to ground to that one point to avoid any possibility for ground loops, keep the preamp operating as quietly as possible. I'm going to put all of my flying leads onto the board here, then I will mount the board in the chassis, and then I'll solder those flying leads to where they're going. I'm going to start by wiring the control side of the circuit card. What I need to start with is wires from the board to the controls. So I have 5 wires I need. One going from here to this side of the gain pot, one going from here to this side of the gain pot, one going from here up to the treble pot, one going from here up to the middle pot, and one from here up to the bass pot. I'm going to start by cutting the wires that are going to go on the board. There's 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and soldering those on. Those need to be about 3 3/4 of an inch long, and I don't know why I wrote 4, because I do need 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 6. So I need 6 white wires going to the pots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've measured, the longest one is about 3 3/4 inches, so I'm just going to cut 6 pieces of wire 4 inches long, and I will trim the ends when I put them on the, when I attach them to the controls when the board is in the chassis. All right, next is the tricky bit, probably the trickiest bit of the whole build. Maybe getting the edge lighting mounted might be tricky as well, but I think this is going to be the trickiest part. And the reason is I have wires that need to go from the transformer for the balanced output. I have one of the white wires needs to go from this hole up to the volume pot. It also needs to go from this hole, goes to output, and I also have a ground wire that needs to go here, and I have these 2 jumpers which I've already installed. You can see them here. Why it's tricky is all of these wires for this transformer have to go under the board. So the transformer is going to sit in the top, and the wires, just out of necessity, are going to have to come out on the bottom. So I'm going to put all of those wires in, cut them to appropriate length, and crimp them over in the holes. Then I will set the transformer in, and we will solder on the bottom. So blue and white will go in this hole, and a green will go in this hole, and these are the little tags for those jumpers. So I've installed the white wire and the blue wire. So the white wire will be coming off going to the controls here, and the blue wire here, and I've crimped them over on the top side. And for me, doing this is always a little bit tense, because I'm never going to be able to be sure what's happening on the top side once I solder everything. So I just have to trust that I'm doing this as well as it can be done. Green wire goes in here. And if I had a thought about this when I was doing the turret board, and I've made a note in my my layout for this, these turrets I should have put on the other way around. It would have worked much better that way. These will work just fine, but it's something to remember for next time. So we'll set the transformer in. I need pin 1 of the transformers is this pin up here. Pin 6 is down here. Make sure that's sitting in there tight. And there are no connections to either of these middle pins on the transformer, but I'm soldering them just for the added mechanical strength. So like I said, the trickiest part, but there it is, and we're done. I just need to trim off just the tail ends of these jumpers. And while I'm at it, I'll trim the tails of these wires that I've soldered already, because we're done with those now. So I've got that wire, I've got that wire, these two wires, the wire coming from the transformer, the blue wire coming from that pin 1 going out here, and the grounding wire. So we're looking good. The transformer's sitting in there nice and solid. So making some good headway. I'm using solid core wire for this. I prefer solid core wire because it stays where you put it. But the thing you need to be careful with solid core wire is it breaks much easier. So you do not want to move those wires around. You want to move them as little as possible once they're soldered in place. I'll show you what I mean with just a little piece here. It does not take much to break the wire. So you want to move those wires around as little as possible. You want to be very careful. Treat them like they're very delicate. That's an odd thing to say about a relatively thick piece of wire in its jacket and metal wire itself, but it is pretty delicate. So you do, now that we've got all of these wires in here and we're going to get more in, we're going to be careful how much we're moving it. It's not really such a big problem inside the jacket. You can do it quite a bit and it's not going to break, but where it's exposed and it's soldered, anchored hard to an eyelet, or if it were in a PC board or on a turret board, it breaks easily. So be careful with it. Next I've got a red wire, a green wire, and a black wire that need to go to the XLR output, which will be over on this side of the chassis when we're putting it together. I don't know how long the wire I'm going to need. I sort of eyeballed it with the card in the chassis, and looked like about 10 or 11 inches is going to be more than I need, but will leave me the room to play around. I'm tempted to mount these under the board and pull them out from, or bring them out from under the board, but that could make working on it in the future, if necessary, a little more difficult. So I'm going to take these wires out from the top. Oh, and I need another green wire for ground here too. The other thing about putting them in the top, if I do end up with a wire that's too short, I don't have to take the whole board out to desolder that wire and put another one in. It's always a balance you strike between the cosmetics, how it looks. It looks very nice when all the wires go out from under the board and wherever they're going, but it makes maintenance more difficult. I'm going for ease with this one. So we need to put a red wire in there, a green wire in there, and I'm going to I wasn't happy with the way the capacitor was sitting in there, so I'm going to mount it a little bit differently. This resistor is not going to get particularly hot, so I don't need to worry too much about the capacitor being close to it. But rather than mounting the capacitor standing up on end like that, I've folded the leads over, and then I'll just bend them out underneath here so that they line up with the holes they need to go in here. You'll see that in a minute. So red wire, black wire, green wire, and green wire. Okay, I'll just clean up the ends on those wires now. Okay, so just taking a run through, we're done. I can solder this junction here. There's no wire going in there. I'll have an off-board wire coming out here, another off-board wire coming out. You can't see it, but there's an eyelet here and an eyelet here. So I've got 3 outboard wires here, another outboard wire here, an outboard wire here, and those 3 grounds and V+. So we're just about done wiring this board. I can just about, I can probably get it into the chassis by the end of this video. Next thing I'm going to do, there's no reason I can't drop solder in that hole right now, so we'll do that one. I need 2 orange wires, a yellow wire, and 2 blue wires. They're all going to the tube socket, which is very close to the board. Probably about 3 inches will give me more than I need. I'm going to go with 3.5 inches for these wires. So 2 orange, 2 blue, and 1 yellow. I just have 4 more things to solder. It's time to put these wires in that will become the grounds. So 1 here, and 1 here. And this one last wire, which is for the power supply. The boost mode converter and all of that will all be over here. That is a DC power line, so we don't have to worry about AC induced hum with it. I'm going to take a wire long enough to go from here to the back of the chassis and along the back over to this area somewhere. Again, I don't know how long I'm going to need that to be. So that'll be a red wire, and we will just go straight across, and that looks good enough there. And those 3 ground wires all are going to be pretty short, really. Oh, and I was wrong. I only need 1 wire. These are grounded by jumpers underneath. So underneath here, these 3 all need to go to ground. I've jumpered here to here and then here to here. So I only need 1 wire to go from here. That's this eyelet, and that will go out to grounds. For this ground wire that's going off here, that's this one here, and my B+, I've just tack soldered the components in those spots. I can final solder once the board's installed. So the only other sort of tricky thing is going to be getting that one ground which is right here, connected to the ground point. So I'm just going to solder a piece of bus wire in there and leave it flying up, so I can just hook it in that eyelet later and solder it in after we get the board installed. And I already turned off Big Bertha, my heavy-duty soldering iron, so I'm just going to turn the heat up full on this pencil soldering iron. And it should heat up well enough to solder to that ground point. There we go. Good solder connection. Well, I think I'm ready. I'm going to mount the board in the chassis now, and we're getting close to done for the day. And there's the board installed in the chassis. All of the flying leads are coming off the board. Everything's ready to be soldered to controls and to power, but that will have to wait for the next video. That's all the time I have for today. A lot of work, really good. We're definitely, I would say, on the home stretch, at least as far as the preamp itself. I still have to do something about the cabinet, and I haven't really thought about that yet. So that will be coming up. What I want to do next is finish wiring all the internals, get this so it actually is working, and test it out and make sure we know what we're doing. So cabinet will kind of be the last thing I do. So like always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please check my band, One Soul Thrust. The links are in the description below, as always. Please give this video a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps. Until the next video, we'll see you.